So thank you so much for allowing us to speak today. Our title is Building the First Nations Artist to Art Educator Relationship through the 4R's of Indigenous Pedagogy. And this is Dr. Mara Pierce and Dr. Lori Santos. We'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement. We honor and celebrate Indigenous peoples past, present, and future. As the original stewards of these lands, we express gratitude for their enduring knowledge, wisdom, and care. We acknowledge the ongoing impacts of settler colonialism and are committed to fostering relationships grounded in respect, reciprocity, continued learning, and meaningful collaboration with Indigenous communities. We encourage you to explore who are the traditional Indigenous land and knowledge keepers where you live. And as noted, I am Dr. Mara Pierce. I teach at Montana State University Billings, and our specific land acknowledgement is this. MSUB was built on the ancestral land of the Apsáalooke and Northern Cheyenne Nation. I humbly appreciate the opportunity to be able to assist in strengthening our education system today because of the care for this land we now learn on and from. In the Diné language, akehe. Thank you.
Great. Hi, everyone. I guess it's good morning for some of you out there. I'm Dr. Lori Santos, and I teach at Wichita State University. And we are on the sacred and traditional homelands and also the hunting and camping territories of several Indigenous nations that move through here. Among them are the Kiowa, Osage, Wichita, and the people of the Seven Council Fires, which is many bands of the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota peoples. Currently, Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized nations, the Prairie Band Potawatomi, the Kickapoo Tribe of Kansas, the Iowa Tribe of Kansas and Nebraska, and the Sac and Fox Nation of Missouri and Kansas and Nebraska. There are many people of many Indigenous nations who live throughout Kansas.
Okay, we'd also like to share our positionalities and experiences. Dr. Santos?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mara. So, my background, I come to this work as being someone that has been surrounded by indigeneity my whole life. Parents being from Puerto Rico and the Hawaiian Islands, and also the islands of the Azores, and so a lot of island culture in my family. And through the years, I worked a lot with different communities throughout the United States, of it, specifically Indigenous nations, and also in Peru. I just believe it's really important to work directly with communities and also to make sure that you're, connecting with them in a way that builds respect and reciprocity, that you let them be the lead on whatever situation you're in, or community project you might be involved in. So Mara and I met out of really common ground, and I'll let her talk a little bit about her background.
Thank you, Lori. So my positionality is this. I am Caucasian and privileged education-wise. I do come from a low-income family, however. Raised by a single parent. It was just she and I. And I was married into the Diné Nation, 23 years ago this September, quite a long time. And I was given teachings and learnings by community members and elders who told me what they wanted the students to learn. I learned how to teach on the Navajo Nation even before I set foot in a teacher education program. Now a lot of my work revolves around Indigenous knowledge and ensuring that Indigenous knowledge is shared by those who have the permission to do so and who can give the permission to do so.
Mm-hmm. So today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about some background work of how this is all framed, and then share with you a few educator training and curriculum resources that are specifically focused in indigeneity and or indigenizing, you know, your own pedagogy. And then we'll close with some Q&A.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start off. Here in Montana, in the United States, this was the very first state to implement what's called the Indian Education for All policy, and it was born of tribal elders and council members getting together across the state and said, this is what we want non-Native individuals to know about us and to share in their classrooms. I'll go ahead and we will share this PowerPoint, and each of these images has a link on it. So the policy has been a law for several years, and this is the current website to provide you with information in terms of the policy, how it helps Indian student achievement, and all of the relations that we have here in the state. There are 12 federally recognized tribes, 7 recognized reservations, and there is one tribe, the Little Shell Chippewa, that was just recently federally recognized, but they have no reservation, so they have no land base, at least not federally recognized. And so this is a very, very thorough resource. And I'll go ahead and close this. This is also a Canvas course for anyone can take it, and it's free of charge, and it teaches individuals about how to implement Indian education into your coursework, and it gives you background. It also gives you little quizzes, and it's free, but if you do the paid version of it, you will get a certificate. All right. Okay, and the University of British Columbia is an excellent resource as well. This is where documentation and dissemination of the 4R's came to be. So the 4R's, for those who are not familiar with it, let's go ahead and click on that. Respect, relevance, reciprocity, and responsibility. And it was first written by Kirkness and Barnhart back in 2001. And so this website gives you a little background in all of these 4 very important concepts that are found at the base of the majority of Indigenous knowledge, activities, and teachings and learnings. Up at the top, you will also see that you can do professional learning, and again, it is free. And one of my favorite websites, Kuapapabari, it is what works, and it is a wonderful, wonderful website in terms of learning how to research and do research with Indigenous individuals and assessment with Indigenous individuals. I have a huge respect for Australia and New Zealand because you guys know how to start this. You guys have been doing it for so incredibly long, much longer than we've been doing it here in the States. And so you really know what works. And I like to share this with many of my pre-service teachers, especially since here in Montana, we have a great deal of over 4% of our population, which is the second highest population here in the state, is Indigenous. And so a lot of and you might think, well, why Maori and why Native American or American First Nations? Because there are a lot of similarities in terms of history, and philosophies are a little bit different, but in terms of historical preference, there is quite a bit of overlap and parallel. So this is an excellent website as well. And there are training modules also.
Oh, it's me.
That's you.
So this is the Kansas Association for Native American Art Education, CANA for short, and it's similar to what the Montana group has for Indian Education for All, but still in its infancy. Recently, they have formed a committee, and they're doing a 4-year kind of deep dive research involving all of the tribal communities in Kansas to help develop their own essential understanding, similar to what Montana has done in other states, to then help educators and communities to connect with folks in a more respectful, reciprocal, responsible, and relevant way. Some key things that they've done has been a hard hit on really focusing in on the harmful aspects of the mascots that have been used throughout the United States in disrespectful ways. Also, focus in on regional studies. If you go to their website, you'll see that there's a lot of historical information as well as contemporary information about Native communities and significant Native leaders within the area. So lots of good resources there. I do have my students, my pre-service students, look at this one as well specifically, and I also require my pre-service students to do some type of an online training, a minimum of 2 hours for the semester, which really isn't that much. Of course, I would love to have them do more. We can go to the next slide, I think. So this one has been a really big favorite, and I did see on the schedule that there are some folks from Canada attending this conference, and so perhaps they might already know about the Outdoor Learning Store and School and Take Me Outside, which is a sort of a sister group to them. And this group really has just been like a stronghold for me. They have several resources and opportunities for networking, and also most of it is, or I should say, pretty much all of it's based on outdoor learning and the idea of connecting to land, which certainly resonates very strongly with Indigenous communities. But they have specifically learning with First Nations scholars, researchers, and Native educators, nature educators, as a key part of this. And so I have the links here, like the 4 Seasons of Indigenous Learning. You could click on that one, Mara. And that one is, if you decide to do this series of classes, they have free virtual workshops throughout the year. Here's an example showing you how you can, and they have Native scholars, Native researchers, educators, book writers. Let's see the next one coming up. Here's one about birds, and it's going to be specifically connecting into Indigenous factors. If you could go back to the main slide, I thought I had moved the, can you click on the one that says outdoorlearning.com 4 Seasons? I thought I had
This one?
changed. Yeah, I think it should be that one. Let's see if that one is correct. So this is the 4 Seasons of Indigenous Learning. Yes, this is it. And it's a 4-year cycle. And so they are starting up a new cycle. And I guess I'm just like loving it so much that I re-enrolled. There is a small fee, but the one reason for me to re-enroll is because now for season 1, they actually have a United States focused version. I took season 1 like 4 years ago, but it was Canada. So now I'm going to take it with that US focus. And so that's the Foundations of Knowledge, supporting and learning about Indigenous culture, history, and perspective. And then season 2, if you do this 4-year commitment, will be learning from the land. And then season 3 will be reciprocal relationships. And I just finished season 4, reflective action. And what's so beautiful about all of these different modules is there's a lot of content in there that's self-paced, as well as they have a monthly meeting with the guest speaker. Many of these are also available online. You can find them on YouTube. The past seasons, I should say. Okay, we can go back, and I think the last featured online resource back in 2005 or 2006, boy, it's been a while, I think 2006, I was a fellow with the Indigenous Fellowship Program for the National Museum of the American Indian, and I got to go out to work at the Gustav High Center, which is out in Lower Manhattan. So the National Museum of the American Indian is is really a great resource that is dedicated specifically to the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere. And so we're talking all the way from Alaska all the way down to the tip of South America. Their collection is just immense, and it is a institution that is native run. They have a board that seats almost 90% or more native people. And their focus is to lead with native voices and perspectives. There are 4 different like sites, I guess you could say, for resources. 3 of them are physical locations, the Gustav High Center in New York, and then you have the Sweetland Maryland Research Center, which I've been there as well. And then I've also visited the larger museum, which is on the National Mall in DC. They have a database that has a huge archive, so that's like their 4th site, as well as it's almost like they have 5, I guess, because with it embedded in, let's click on the NMAI educational resources. You'll see embedded in the website, when you go to the website, is they just have this beautiful way for you to look up. You can do keyword searches by names of the artist, grade level, subject type, and they also have featured artists where you could go and listen to short little video clips of artists talking and telling their story, and sharing with you how you can implement this into your classroom and connect. So I think that that's a really important, key, relevant aspect of this, that it leads with the native voice. Oh yeah, here's Jeffrey Gibson. This is a great one. And then if you click on that, you'll be able to see the short little video and the lesson plans. And they have many of the lesson plans for the different artists. Some of them are focused on different grade levels, and then some of them, like this one, yeah, here we go. They're like separated by, you've got one that's kind of K-12 and for introductory activities, and then you got specific lessons for the different grade levels. Probably somewhere on that website is a lesson plan written by me. I couldn't tell you exactly where it's at though, no. But during my fellowship, I had the pleasure of being able to work with the fabulous education team and working on lesson plans in direct connection with Native artists. So I think that's, yeah, next one, because we're getting close to time maybe. Where are we at? Oh, maybe we talked fast, or we got 12 minutes. I always get nervous. So I think the resources that we shared today, many of them can be utilized for us as educators to self-educate. And I think that that's a key thing to this, as well as in terms of the online learning, because, of course we can't go to all these places, but now, we have access to so many different organizations and networks that can help us, leverage and learn and expand our understanding of things, whatever the topic might be. In this case, cultural responsibility and reciprocity and all of those kinds of things. So we have to start with the educator first, right? And then bring this out to our students. And so Mara and I, working with pre-service, we also advocate for our students to learn, to self educate, professional development through online resources.
Thank you very much for the great presentation. I do agree this is a very great setup for professional development for both, maybe for teachers, pre-service teachers, as well as teacher educators. Yeah, it's very interesting and very great resources for such professional learning. So this is a time. Any question you'd like to have from the audience now? I may just start with asking one question. It's very interesting, how much resources are out there available for both pre-service teachers and teacher educators. But I was wondering how these resources, these concepts are integrated into pre-service teachers program in your program, like in courses or in placement. We call it placement. I don't know what you could, or practicum. I was wondering how much of these are, yeah, it's great to see that.
Right.
Yeah. Mm.
Right. Um, for me, I would say that I have my students directly include in their unit planning Native artists, and this is a great way for them to get meaningful and authentic, um, video representation of these artists telling their story, so that they can then share that in the classroom when they're teaching a unit plan, because they've already been curated and they're short, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They've been curated by a professional educational institution, so we know it's going to be quality stuff, and they don't have to go search the internet and the YouTube or whatever to find things. I think that that's one way. The other thing is that we've also done things where we've gone through the collections archives, and I think that's a very good activity for K-12 students. Of course, the younger grades are going to need a little bit of help, maybe, but they're so good with this online stuff. But it's interesting to have them actually search the database and to see what's in the collection of a museum or an organization, and what is the information that is provided about this particular art form or object, and then it becomes then another springboard for them to do a deeper dive into what more can I learn. So I think those would be two great ways.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there should be some way of, accessibility for both pre-service teachers as well as teacher educators, so that they can, use them in their future teaching, as well as teacher educators aware of, there are such kind of great resources that they can use for their teaching, maybe, as you said, in lesson planning and other
Hmm.
activities. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
I'd,
Any
I'd like
other?
to I'd like to add real quick that although Mara and I are both professors of art education, these resources aren't necessarily specifically art disciplined focused. So I think they're applicable to any discipline, as well as you'll find that a lot of museum websites have lesson plans that, cross disciplinary, like the STEAM kind of approach. Um, so don't shy away from the art part, is what I'm saying.
Thank you very much. Any other question or comment you'd like to add from the audience? Okay, great. Thank you very much for your great presentation. And yeah, we go ahead with the next presentation, but still we have 6 minutes. Thank you very much for finishing early. That's great. So we'll wait for another 6 minutes and we will start the second presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.